Like 5,000 likes to this video, we will upload more patriotic news. Thank you. John Kelly pushed Obama's policy chief out of DHS. The holdover official responsible for implementing former President Barack Obama's failed countering violent extremism policy at the Department of Homeland Security finally resigned just before DHS Secretary John Kelly departed for the White House. George Salim headed the now-defunct CVE program, which tried to offer federal support and legal autonomy to Islamic political groups if they redirected Islamic immigrants and youths away from Islamic militancy and jihad. His resignation spotlighted Kelly's decision to replace Obama's failed policy with more direct government involvement in Islamic communities. Kelly may use his new White House job to make his anti-jihad strategy a government-wide policy. On Friday, July 28, Secretary Kelly accepted the resignation of George Salim, a dedicated career professional who served at DHS under 3 presidents, beginning with President Bush in 2005, said a statement from Acting Secretary of Homeland Security Elaine Duke. She continued, "Over the last 7 months, the Secretary and I often relied on George's thoughtful and reasoned approach to challenging issues. His experienced and steady hand was important as he played a key role in advising me and senior DHS leaders. The department could not function effectively without the selfless service of career leaders like George Salim. He will be missed and I wish him all the best in his future endeavors." In addition, the Office for Community Partnerships will continue its terrorism prevention work under the leadership of Acting Director David Gersten. In December 2015, Salim, then the new director of the Office for Community Partnerships at the Department of Homeland Security, outlined the Obama CVE strategy when he told NPR that Muslim communities were not identifying emerging jihadis. "The research and the statistics have all indicated that peers, people that are in close association with subjects that ultimately commit an act like this, see something that's a little bit out of the norm, but they don't necessarily report it. And so part of our goal is to create the type of partnerships in which peers know when and how to elevate those type of suspicions. We realize that central governments aren't necessarily best placed to prevent and intervene in the process of radicalization. It's, in fact, local actors that are, in fact, best placed on this. What we saw earlier in this year in the White House Summit on Countering Violent Extremism is 3 cities, Boston, Los Angeles and Minneapolis, who are pioneering prevention programs on countering violent extremism in 3 different ways: the local demographics, the local municipal officials and religious leaders. The CVE plan failed, in large part, because immigrant Islamic political activists kept raising their demands in negotiations with Obama's deputies. For example, some Islamic advocates demanded the FBI stay out of Muslim neighborhoods. Many activists also refused to admit the role of Islamic texts in motivating Islamic believers to launch Islamic jihad attacks, despite the repeated use of Islamic texts by U.S.-based Islamic clerics to urge Islamic attacks. In fact, both Obama and Salim echoed those "No Islam here" hardline claims. In 2016, Salim told a House committee that to be successful in our homeland security efforts, we have to underscore and reinforce the fact that ISIL does not represent Islam and cannot justify its barbaric terrorism with twisted interpretations of one of the world's most prominent religions. The successful Islamic opposition to Obama's CVE was admitted by the Huffington Post, which wrote in July 2016, "An FBI plan only heightened suspicions among some civil rights and Muslim community leaders." Meanwhile, in Boston, Los Angeles and Minneapolis, federal pilot programs announced in 2014 to prevent extremism have met such fierce resistance from local Muslims that the first 2 remain mired in the developmental stage. In Minneapolis, officials were compelled to change the program's name from Countering Violent Extremism to Building Community Resilience. The failure of Obama's CVE strategy was brutally highlighted by the December 2015 jihad massacre in San Bernardino and the June 2016 mass murder jihad at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida. In both attacks, the killers were part of the local Islamic community, which did not alert Americans to the growing danger. The same inaction was spotlighted by the September 2016 pressure cooker jihad bomb attacks in New Jersey. During his 6 months at the agency, Kelly apparently discarded Obama's CVE plan and has shifted DHS attention and funds away from Islamic groups which wanted to prevent FBI anti-jihad investigations in their Islamic communities. Instead, the funds and attention will go to police groups that are directly assimilating Islamic communities into normal American civic society, without relying on the Islamic political groups, such as the Muslim Public Affairs Council. Kelly explained his new pro-integration strategy in a June 22 event held in Congress, where he acknowledged that Islamic terrorists are acting for sincere Islamic reasons, saying, "They are out there doing what they think is their religion and think it is what they are supposed to be doing. What I've elected to do is take what little money I have in this regard and give it to what I consider to be the time-proven things, law enforcement from an outreach point of view and communities developing relationships. So that there's an open line of communication so they know if they see this, advocacy or preparation for violence, happening in the home or they see it happening, that is to say, the move towards radicalism, or they see it happening in the churches or mosques, they know to call someone before that person typically crosses the line." In June, Kelly used a more diplomatic explanation of his approach to domestic Islamic terrorism. Before working at DHS, Kelly was a U.S. Marine Corps general who quelled a vicious Islamic-fueled insurgency in Iraq by using U.S. military power to build alliances with less radical tribal groups. There are some reasons to think Kelly's assimilationist strategy can work. A new Pew survey of U.S.-based Muslims shows that only about half of the roughly 3 million Muslims living in the United are religiously observant, and only about a third hold fundamentalist beliefs. This ratio may allow pro-assimilationist Muslims to quickly spotlight militant Islamic believers, despite opposition from Islamic political activists and groups who want to segregate Muslim communities from U.S. society. Those hardline Islamic activists include Linda Sarsour, who recently told an Islamic political audience that, "Our number one and top priority is to protect and defend our community. It is not to assimilate and to please any other people in authority. Our obligation is to our young people, is to our women, to make sure our women are protected in our community, and our top priority, even higher than all those priorities, is to please Allah and only Allah." What I believe that people can learn from my experience is that you can be unapologetically Muslim, unapologetically Palestinian American, hold strong conviction, have strong ideology and politics and still become a mainstream American who can inspire and still resonate with people outside of the Muslim community. We do not have to give up any part of our identity. I will not be in a space where any group or any organization or individual tells me that there is a part of my Muslim identity that is not welcome into any space. That, my sisters and brothers, is not going to fly with us in the Muslim. President Trump is starting his own real news program. We are all aware that President Trump is doing its best to combat the fake news in the mainstream media who are attempting to put an end of his presidency. The media are continuously trying to publish a fake news just to make a chaos into the White House. Now, President Trump is determined to fight back and stop this tendency by announcing real news. The president, on his official Facebook page, launched a spanking new segment called Real News hosted by his daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, Eric Trump's wife. On the first episode was an introduction of the Real News segment with the focus on Trump's administration wins from the previous week. As it seems many more episodes will come. Referring to President Trump, Lara Trump stated, "This is a president who is putting America before himself," and continued with the Trump's win concerning the unemployment rate, which as she stated is the lowest in 16 years, as well as 800,000 new jobs to the employment market. At the end, Lara finished the episode by saying, "Thanks for joining us everybody, and that is the real news." This is the video from the first official Real News episode. Please share this post on Facebook to support President Trump. What is your opinion on this? Scroll down to comment below. Trump just revealed a massive plot, Nancy Pelosi and Debbie Wasserman Schultz are exposed. Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Nancy Pelosi are truly manipulative when it comes to national security, and President Trump is very conscious about that. They are part of a massive plot, together with Muslim Brotherhood and other Islamists implanted in our government, to get access to highly confidential documents on national security. President Trump is taking immediate actions to reveal this disloyal circle, pointing at House Minority Leader and the Florida Congresswoman. President Trump admitted that he is aware why the Democratic National Committee didn't turn over the servers to the FBI. Back in 2016, the DNC declared that they were hacked by Russians, but refused any law enforcement agency to inspect their servers. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was chairman of DNC, and nowadays she is employed at A1 Brothers with approval to access the highest classified security documents. Imran A1, as a leader of the group, was arrested while trying to escape from U.S. Now the connection between Nancy Pelosi, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Muslim Congressman Andre Carson, and the A1 Brothers is revealed. Nancy Pelosi authorized the A1 Brothers to access to 8 ranking Democratic members' computers who sat on the House Intel Committee. In a letter from March 2016 she stated, "We request you include adequate funding to the House Office of the Sergeant at Arms to support top-secret sensitive compartmented information security, TS/SCI, clearance investigations for individual designees from each House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence members' personal staff." The individual designees stated in the letter were, of course, the A1 Brothers. Front Page magazine wrote, the signatories to the letter were Andre Carson, Luis Gutierrez, Jim Himes, Terry Sewell, Jackie Speier, Mike Quigley, Eric Swalwell, and Patrick Murphy. All the signatories were Democrats. Some had a history of attempting to undermine national security. 2 of them have been linked to an emerging security breach. The office of Andre Carson, the second Muslim in Congress, had employed Imran A1. As did the offices of Jackie Speier and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, to whom the letter had been addressed. Representative Andre Carson is the congressman from Indiana who is connected to radical Islamists. Islamists have funded Carson's career to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. The Center for Security Policy has put together a dossier of Carson's connections to the Muslim Brotherhood. The Brotherhood is the parent organization of many key Islamic terror groups posing a threat to our national security, including Al-Qaeda and Hamas, stated Daniel Greenfield, a famous expert on Muslim terrorism. Greenfield added, Andre Carson shared the stage at a care banquet with Siraj Wahhaj, an unindicted co-conspirator in the World Trade Center bombing, who had once declared, "You don't get involved in politics because it's the American thing to do. You get involved in politics because politics are a weapon to use in the cause of Islam." The main question is why Andre Carson, who is financed from the Muslim Brotherhood, is assisting House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. He has access to highly classified national security documents. And of course, here is Nancy Pelosi and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who authorized the A1 Brothers to be Carson's IT techs. It isn't a surprise that Debbie Wasserman Schultz threatened the Capitol Police chief a couple of weeks ago after the seizure of the computers. President Trump exposed this spy novel, asking FBI why have never had access to the DNC servers. Now, we just need to be patient and trust in Trump that he'll do everything in his power to make these traitors pay for their crimes. Please share this post on Facebook if you want to see them in jail. What is your opinion on this? Scroll down to comment below. Watch Sarah Huckabee rips reporters right to their faces. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders blasted the mainstream media during a press conference on Tuesday, pushing back against the press's misleading headlines and obsession with Russia-Trump conspiracy theories. Sanders lashed out at the Destroy Trump media while addressing reporters at the White House press briefing, saying they were fueling a false narrative regarding the president's relationship with the Kremlin. "The only thing I see misleading is a year's worth of stories that have been fueling a false narrative about this Russia collusion and this phony scandal based on anonymous sources," said Sanders. You guys are focused on a meeting that Don Jr. had that had no consequence when the Democrats actually colluded with a foreign government like the Ukraine. The Democrat-linked firm Fusion GPS actually took money from the Russian government while it created the phony dossier that's been the basis for all of the Russia scandal fake news, she added. And if you want to talk further about a relationship with Russia, look no further than the Clintons, said the press secretary. Hillary Clinton allowed 1/5 of America's uranium reserve to be sold to a Russian firm whose investors were Clinton Foundation donors. If you guys want to talk about having relations which you seem obsessed with doing, look no further than there, she added. You guys want to create a narrative that just doesn't exist. Watch Sarah Huckabee Sanders address reporters above.